classes 1 to 10. Over here, all the classes are 100% live and interactive classes. So whatever doubt you have in your mind regarding the topic, you can ask all of them in the classes only, and the teacher will explain everything in the classes. Now secondly, we give the personalized attention to each and every student, क्योंकि हमारे एक बैच में maximum 6 students रहते हैं, not more than that. This help us to keep an eye on each of the student, कैसे students perform कर रहे हैं class में, how they are performing in the homework, everything. And this help the student also to ask their doubt very clearly, without any chaos at all, without any hesitation also. And we also clear everything in the classes. Now thirdly, we have a very good academic mentor team who continuously track and work on the students progress, and accordingly they will give you the feedback so that you will be able to understand what is your fault, where you were lagging, but where which is the point where you need to exercise on, you have to work on, and you can improve, right? So this is also very important. And finally, we cover the syllabus as per your school examination schedule. Like if you have any of the topic which is already done in your school, but it is not till done yet in Swiflearn, so you can definitely ask us to do those topics first. We will move on to those topics, we will do them, and then we will move on to the rest of the topic. So this type of custom request generally we handle. So these are all the different general features of Swiflearn. Now let me tell you how we can say that this Swiflearn is different from any other platform. So they have some key features also. So what are our key features? First of all, we maintain the detailed progress report of each and every student whoever is taking the regular classes over here. So they already know that we also have the PTM based on this progress report. So in different interval you will get the progress report, and accordingly we will also have the parent teacher meeting. तो आपका parents का अगर कोई doubt होगा तो they can differently directly interact with us, and we will try to solve all the problem whatever you are facing, right? Now coming to the second thing, that is the SAT, which is the Swiflearn's academic test series, which happen in every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can perform over there, and you will be able to understand what is your rank all over India, as well as the all the students of Swiflearn is performing over here abroad also, out of India also. So you will be able to understand what is your rank, and this will be given on the leaderboard, right? Now coming to the most important thing, which is which we have, is unlimited practice test. So after completing each and every topic of all the subjects, okay, so you can do a lot of practice of the different question answers. So this practice will help you to understand the concept better. In our practice test, both the objective and subjective question answers are there. सो ऑब्जेक्टिव्स मान लो कि आपके स्कूल में जैसे आते हैं या फिर बोर्ड एग्जाम में जैसे आएंगे, because you were in class 10, so you have to focus on the board exam now. So like MCQs, filling the blanks, true false, pick the odd one out, or match the column, these types of questions will be there. One word and one sentence questions will also be there. And definitely the subjective test is also there. Like you sometimes have the concept but you cannot write the answer, or you sometimes miss out some of the keywords which is needed to be there in the answer, and that is why you lose marks, right? So by practicing all this subjective test, as well as we the teachers of Swiflearn will also give you the tips how to write the answer, where to include the diagram, where to include the different chemical equation. So it basically depends upon the different subjects. So we will definitely give you the tips and tricks how to write the answer and get the full marks, right? So it's very easy to get full marks in biology, as you already know. People get 100 out of 100 without anything. So it's really a very easy subject, very interesting and colorful subject. So you it is better to practice writing question answer, and not to lose marks, right? Yes. So to experience all these feature, what you have to do is you have to book a free trial class. All the trial classes are free. You can book it according to your convenient time and learn with us. Definitely, you can enroll your name in our regular batches. In the regular batches, definitely we will meet and we will discuss a lot of different information about the subject, right? Okay, so this is all about Swiflearn, and let me again remind you who have not subscribed our channel yet, please subscribe it now only and press the bell icon so that you will never miss any of the update of the upcoming sessions. So you will also stay with us till the end of the session, and in all the session, definitely if you have any sort of doubt, please ask me in the chat box. Write hi, hello, so that we can also interact in the chat box. Okay, and don't forget to like, comment, and share also. Chalo. So let us start with today's topic. As I have already said that we were going with the topic photosynthesis. So today is the second session of photosynthesis. The first session we have already discussed about the photosynthesis. What is the basic uh, like what is the basic process of photosynthesis, what are the raw materials which are needed due to needed in this process of photosynthesis, as well as we have also studied about the different theories which are included um, for the explanation of opening and closing of the stomata, right? So these are the topic which we have already discussed in the previous session. So in today's session we will mainly discuss about the different things like the mesophyll tissue, the very important thing, which is the main area where the photosynthesis takes place, that is the mesophyll cells which are mainly present within the green leaves. So yes, you already know that we have the kitchen, but we have to perform the cooking activity with the help of the different type of ingredients and all, right? So this mesophyll cells basically have all the ingredients which help them to perform the process of photosynthesis. So we will study this one. Then we will study about the two main phases of photosynthesis. We can divide the photosynthesis process into two main phase. One is the light phase and second one is the dark phase. तो light phase में क्या क्या होता है we will study, and then dark phase में क्या क्या होता है, that is light independent phase में क्या क्या होता है when direct sunlight is not required, but the products which are formed during this light reaction is definitely required in the dark reaction. Okay, so we will study about these two phases in detail, and then we will move on to some of the experiments related to the photosynthesis, like how to prove that photosynthesis takes place in the green plants and starch is formed or starch is stored, or we can say that the glucose is formed in the process of photosynthesis. Then we will study about why sunlight is needed, to prove that sunlight is needed during this process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is needed, and definitely during this process of photosynthesis oxygen is liberated, right? So these are the basic experiments which we will learn today, and then we will study about the factors, the different external as well as the internal factors which are present within the plants or outside the plants, which basically affect the process of photosynthesis. So these are the different things which we will study today. And finally, as you already know, the lot of different biogeochemical cycles are going on throughout the nature, that is the nitrogen cycle, oxygen cycle, carbon cycle, phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle. So mainly we will discuss about the carbon cycle in this session. Okay, so these are the different things which we will mainly discuss in today's session. Now, before going to this session, before starting today's topic, let me ask you some of the questions which we have already learned in the previous session. Now, can you tell me, anybody, like what is the name of the site of photosynthesis in plant? In which site of photosynthesis? Name the just the location where photosynthesis takes place within the plant. Yes, anybody? Where do you think that photosynthesis takes place within the plant? Yes, it's in the green leaves, right? Very good. Now, coming to the second question, are the chloroplast single layered or double layered or triple layered structure? I have also shown you the 3D model of the chloroplast in the last session. Remember? So, if you have missed the last session, please go through the last session so that you can also come to know about what is the main structure, the detailed structure of the chloroplast, right? So, over there, we have seen that it is covered by the double membrane structure, right? This chloroplast is a double membrane bound structure. So how many layers are present? Two layers or the double membrane. Okay. Now coming to the third question, do you think that transpiration is related to photosynthesis? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, so the third and fourth question is just true and false type of question. So let me get this answer from you only. I'll not tell you. Please write it in the chat box, definitely. So, transpiration is related to photosynthesis, yes or no? And during the sunlight, means during the daytime, the guard cells turn flaccid to open the stomata. Is it correct or wrong? Yes. Do you think that the guard cells become flaccid or turgid during the opening of the stomata? Please write it in the chat box. Let me see who can give me most of the answers correct. Chalo. Now let me give you a situation that you already know that kitchen is the only place where the different dishes are cooked, right? It is cooked by any of the member of your family. So we know that cooking takes place within the kitchen. So if I give you the kitchen and I tell you to just go and quickly cook some of the thing, like you can just try to cook some lemonade. So will you be able to understand that where are the different ingredients present? First thing which you have to think about is the different ingredients which are needed for making the lemonade. That is sugar, lemon, water, right? And then you have to find it out from the different compartments which are there in the kitchen, where these all the different ingredients are stored, right? Yes. So these are the different things which you have to keep it in mind, and then only you can perform the cooking and you will be able to make the lemonade. So the similar type of thing also happen in case of the different plants. So we already know that the leaves are the kitchen of the plant, where basically the photosynthesis takes place. Hi beta, I am fine. What is your actual name? Okay. So you already know that the leaves of the plant is known as the kitchen of the plant. And can you tell me like which part of the leaf is basically where the photosynthesis basically takes place, and how does it take place? Any idea? Yes. So this is a special type of tissue which is known as the mesophyll tissue. And the mesophyll tissue basically have the different types of cells, the palisade parenchyma cell and the spongy parenchyma cell. We will study about them. So these are the special types of cells which have more amount of chloroplast, right? Yes, very good Shivam, it is chloroplast. So the mesophyll tissues are basically highly differentiated with the cell. You can see that the uppermost epidermis, this is the upper epidermis, and this is the lower epidermis of the mesophyll tissue. Now, over here, just above the upper epidermis, we can see the cuticle, the waxy layer, and just below the upper epidermis, we can see the palisade parenchyma cells. Okay, the palisade parenchyma cells, and just below it, these are the cells which are having much amount of intercellular spaces in between, and you can see the chloroplast which are present within them. These are the spongy parenchyma. Okay, so this palisade parenchyma and the spongy parenchyma cells are basically containing a lot of amount of chloroplast, and due to the presence of a lot of chloroplast within them, this chlorophyll molecules will be also at inadequate amount, and this will help to perform the process of photosynthesis, right? So this is the main specialty of the mesophyll tissue which are present in the leaves, and that help them to perform the process of photosynthesis. Clear up to this much? Why do you think that the leaf is the kitchen of the plant, and which type of tissue is basically present over here? The mesophyll tissue. And the mesophyll tissue basically having the two spatial type of cells, palisade cells and the spongy cells. And this palisade and spongy cells have a lot of chloroplast in them, and this chloroplast, whenever it is more in amount, definitely the chlorophyll molecules will also be more in amount, and finally this will help in the process of photosynthesis. Up to this much clear hai? Yes, why photosynthesis takes place in the leaves? Yes, accessory pigments and essential pigments are also present, definitely Shubham, and they form the reaction center. Exactly. So we will study about the reaction center in detail in class 11th, definitely. And definitely I will tell you about the reaction center. Okay, those are known as the photosystems, right? So have you ever thought that how the light energy is trapped by the leaves? Yes, what is the main thing which is present in the leaves which help them to trap the sunlight or the light energy, and then only this light energy will be converted into the chemical energy in case of the photosynthesis process, right? So this mesophyll cells, mesophyll cells, which are mainly the palisade parenchyma cells, they have a lot of chlorophyll, and this lot of chlorophyll will help in trapping of the light energy of the sunlight, and finally it will be trapped and given to the different photosystem, as you have already said that those are the center of the process of photosynthesis. So photosystem will be there, and finally within this system continuously the different steps will go on, and finally it will make the chemical energy, that is nothing but the glucose, right? Hi Drishti, how are you? So for making this glucose, what is needed? The main four raw materials which are needed are carbon dioxide and water, which they are getting from the nature and from the soil respectively, and the two other things are the chlorophyll molecules which they already have, and the sunlight, right? So these are the four main materials which will help to combine with each other. I will tell you how they are performing the photosynthesis in the two different phases, and they will help in the production of the glucose. Clear hai? Now, the first thing, this we have already mentioned in the previous session also, that how do you think these leaves, the green leaves, will take the carbon dioxide? Yes. So you already have an idea that the green leaves are having a lot of pores in it, right? And these pores are known as the stomata, right? Now this stomata, the opening and the closing of the stomata depends upon the light intensity and other various lot of different factors, and definitely it depends upon how much turgid the g- guard cells are. The guard cells are basically covering or enclosing the stomata, right? So how much water content quantity is present within the guard cell, depending upon that the opening and the closing of the stomata takes place. So this opening of the stomata will help the plant to take the carbon dioxide from the environment, from the atmosphere, right? And this carbon dioxide will enter inside the plant body by the simple process of diffusion. You already have an idea about diffusion, right? That is the movement of the molecules from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. So definitely the atmospheric carbon dioxide is more than that of the plant body, right? So wherever the carbon dioxide is more, from there the carbon dioxide will move inside the plant body, and that is how the carbon dioxide enters within the plant body through the small pores which are known as the stomata. Clear, Hannah, up to this much? Yes. Okay. Now, can you tell me how the water is absorbed by the leaves? Or we already know that the water is absorbed by the root, right? It is absorbed by the root hairs, and finally it will move on into the roots, and through the xylem vessels they are carried to the stems. Now, how they are moving towards the leaves? Basically, they are going from the root to the stems in one direction, and finally they are going to all the different branches of the leaves, branches of the plants, and finally the veins of the leaves. So they will travel through the veins of the leaves, and they will just supply this water to the mesophyll tissue. So now the mesophyll tissue is having the carbon dioxide, they are taking the sunlight, they are trapping the light energy with the help of the chlorophyll. They are also absorbing the water. The water is going from the root to the leaves, and they already have the chlorophyll molecules. So four different things are already there over here now, and now they are totally ready to perform the process of photosynthesis. Hi Shade. Okay, so We will now study in detail the structure of the mesophyll tissue, the structure of the leaf, and then we will move on to the two phases of the photosynthesis. Let's see.
So we know that plants make their own food through photosynthesis. But how does a plant get together the ingredients it needs for this? Sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, and then combine those to create glucose and oxygen? Well, that's what leaves are for. A leaf is like a plant's food factory, and its parts work together to get the reactants into one place so that photosynthesis can happen. Let's start with sunlight. Have a look at a leaf. The top of it is exposed to the most light, so the cells specialized for trapping light are on top. These cells are called palisade mesophyll, and they're packed full of chlorophyll, the green chemical that plants use to absorb light. That's why the top side of the leaf is darker than the bottom side. You should also note that most leaves have a large surface area, so they can trap as much sunlight as possible. What else do we need for photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide. That's where the bottom of the leaf comes in. It's got these little pores called stomata, which open up so carbon dioxide can diffuse into the leaf. They're controlled by sausage-shaped guard cells, which open up to let carbon dioxide in, but they can also close the stomata to prevent other things like water from escaping. So the carbon dioxide comes in through the stomata, makes its way through the gaps in an airy layer of cells called the spongy mesophyll at the bottom part of the leaf, and then heads up to the palisade layer for photosynthesis. Leaves are thin so that the carbon dioxide won't have too far to travel. So we've got sunlight and carbon dioxide now. What's left? Water. Water comes up through the roots and stem and enters the leaf through a vascular bundle, which contains a hollow tube for water transport called the xylem. Look at how the vascular bundle spreads out in the leaf to form veins so that it can spread water throughout. So now the leaf's palisade cells have water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. All they need to photosynthesize and make glucose, their food, and oxygen. But how does the leaf prevent unwanted intruders like bacteria from getting in and stop important reactants from escaping? Above the palisade mesophyll and below the spongy mesophyll are epidermis cells, which produce a waxy coating called the cuticle. The cuticle seals up the leaf so that the only way in and out is through the stomata, which are regulated by those guard cells. Now let's go back through the parts of a leaf, from top to bottom. We've got the thin, waxy cuticle, then the epidermis cells. These basically make up the leaf's skin. Then comes the chlorophyll-rich palisade mesophyll, where the bulk of photosynthesis occurs. Below that's the spongy mesophyll, which have plenty of space in between them for reactants to move through. Through that space stretches the vascular bundle, with xylem to transport water and phloem, which transports sugars after photosynthesis. And below that, we've got another layer of epidermis and cuticle. Spaced around the lower epidermis and the cuticle are the stomata, with guard cells on either side. Leaves come in all different shapes and sizes. Look at a cabbage leaf and an oak tree leaf. But most of them have these same parts in common, which allow them to get their reactants in and perform photosynthesis.
Yes, so I guess you have already got an idea about what are the different layers of the cells which are present in the leaf. The total structure of the leaf means the basic structure of the mesophyll tissue. So the mesophyll tissue have the spongy parenchyma and the parasite parenchyma cells, which are very much important for the performance of the photosynthesis. Why? Because these are the special types of cells which have abundant amount of chlorophyll molecules, right? So more chlorophyll molecules means more trapping of the sunlight will be there. Now let us move on to the two phases of the photosynthesis. Now the total process of photosynthesis can be divided into two main phases. What are these two main phases? First one is the light dependent phases and the second one is the light independent phases. So light dependent phases basically takes place in presence of sunlight. Okay, this takes place in the presence of sunlight, and the light independent reaction takes place in absence of some sunlight. Now, do you think that only the absence of sunlight will be able to fulfill the total process of photosynthesis? Never. So whatever product which are formed during this light dependent phase, we will study about those products. So those products are needed by the second step, that is the light independent phase, and this light independent phase is also known as the dark phase. Okay, why dark? Because directly they are not taking the sunlight, but they are using the products which are already formed during the presence of the sunlight. So if you get any question like, do you think that photosynthesis can take place without sunlight, or dark reaction doesn't need the sunlight at all? What will you write? You will write that no, it is not actually. Why? Because the dark phase also need all the different products which are already formed during the light reaction, and during the light reaction definitely it will take place only in the presence of sunlight. So always sunlight is necessary for the performance of the photosynthesis. Clear hai? Now, another thing, let me tell you, that is basically this light reaction or the light dependent phase takes place within the grana of this chloroplast. Grana matlab, we have already studied the disc shaped structure within the chloroplast are known as the thylakoid, and when they are stacking upon one another like the stack of coin together, they are known as the grana, right? And the light independent phase, or which we can say the dark phase, basically takes place within the stroma of the chloroplast. Stroma matlab nothing but just the fluid or the matrix which is present within the chloroplast. Clear hai? यस, अप टू दिस मच क्लियर है कि लाइट फेज कहाँ होता है, कैसे होता है, एंड डार्क फेज कहाँ होता है. देन नाउ वी विल मूव ऑन टू व्हाट आर द बेसिक स्टेप्स और बेसिक रिएक्शंस which takes place in the light phase and the dark phase. So mainly first we will study about the light dependent phase or light reaction, which takes place within the grana of the chloroplast, and mainly in the first step of the light reaction is the trapping of the sunlight and converting it into the chemical energy. So as these reactions takes place in the presence of the sunlight, that is why we call this reaction as the photolysis reaction also, or light reaction also. So usually this takes place within the thylakoids, or we can say together as the grana of the chloroplast. And you can see over here, these are the granum of this chloroplast within which the light reaction will take place. Now how will it take place? First, the sunlight will fall on the leaves. Now, when they are falling on the leaves, there are the large complexes which are known as the photosystem. Always remember, the large complexes within the leaves are known as the photosystem. There are two types of photosystem, photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. You will study in detail in class 11th about this one. Okay, so this photosystem have the large complex of pigments and proteins. So all these pigments and proteins will help in carrying out all the different steps. We will study the basic things, the basic reactions which takes place within the light reaction in class 10th, which you have it in the syllabus. And thus the light reaction of photosynthesis takes place in this photosystem. Okay, in this grana of the chloroplast. So now we will move on to what are the different steps which we find in this light reaction. The very first step is the activation of the chlorophyll. Okay, so how do you think that the activation of the chlorophyll will take place, or the chlorophyll molecules, whatever is present within the leaves, they will get activated? How? Because of the exposure to the sunlight. So, okay, so whenever the sunlight will fall, like this is the leaves and this is the sunlight, the sun rays are falling on the leaves, what will happen? It will excite the different chlorophylls which are present on the leaves, and finally due to this excitement they will absorb as much as photon particles they can. Photon particles matlab the particles which are coming from the sunlight, right? So they will trap the sunlight. The second step they will do is the splitting of the water molecule. What is that? the water molecule, whatever they are absorbed, the water which is going from the xylem, through the xylem, from the roots to the leaves, they are moving towards the leaves and they are entering into the cells of the leaves. Now over there, this water will be broken down into H plus and OH minus ions. Okay, so this H2O molecules will be broken into H plus plus OH minus ions. This H plus ions, along with the release of the energy and oxygen, it will form. Okay, so this OH minus ions, 4OH, will form the oxygen, and this oxygen will be liberated out of the plant body through the stomata. Okay, now this reaction, that is the splitting of the water molecule into H plus and OH minus ion, is known as the photolysis of water. Why photolysis? Photo matlab light, and lysis matlab breaking down or breakdown. Okay, as this light energy which is trapped by the chlorophyll molecules are breaking down the water molecule. Okay, so that is why it is known as the photolysis of water. With the help of the sunlight, the water molecules are broken down, splitting down to make the H plus and the OH minus ions. So this H plus and OH minus ions, this OH minus ion basically will form the oxygen which will go out of the plant body. So these are the two first steps of the light reaction. Now the third reaction will be the already um, already occurred or already present compound, that is the NADP, then will pick up that H plus ion which is already formed during the photolysis of water. So this NADP will react with the H plus ion to form the NADPH, which is a very important compound which will help in the process of photosynthesis later on in the dark reaction to produce the glucose. Okay, so as I have already mentioned that the different products, so this is a very important product of the light reaction which will be needed in the dark reaction, right? So I have already mentioned that the product of the light reaction are very much necessary, otherwise the dark reaction will never take place. Okay, so over here the oxygen is also liberated, which is already formed in the photolysis of water. And the fourth reaction is the photophosphorylation. That is the ADP, which is again was present within the leaves. They will add one phosphate group, that is the inorganic phosphate generally we call it, and they will convert the ADP into ATP. This formation of the ATP is known as the phosphorylation, and as it is requiring the light energy, that is why it is known as the photophosphorylation. Why photophosphorylation? As I have already mentioned, photo matlab light. So as this phosphorylation, that is the adding of the pi or phosphate group, is happening in presence of light, that is why it is known as the photophosphorylation. Now this is the second compound which is again needed during this dark reaction. So NADPH and ATP, these are the two products which are needed by the plants for the performance of the photosynthesis in the dark reaction. Okay, so what are the four steps which happened in the light phase? First of all is the trapping of sunlight. Please write it down in short. Trapping of sunlight. Second is the photolysis of water. The water molecules are broken down into H plus and OH minus ions. Third one is the formation of NADPH. NADP के साथ H plus ion added होके NADPH formation हुआ, which will be required in the dark phase. And the fourth one is the photophosphorylation, मतलब the formation of ATP. So ADP is already there, so ATP will be formed with the along with the phosphate group which will be added with this ADP. right? So ATP and this NADPH, these are the two main products which are formed during this light reaction. These are the two products which will be needed now in the dark reaction. Okay, now we will study about the dark reaction of photosynthesis, which we also call as the light independent reaction. Why light independent? क्योंकि इधर light का direct जरूरत नहीं है. Sunlight is not directly falling or sunlight is not directly needed by this, but the product which are already formed in the light reaction will be needed in the dark reaction. This dark reaction is also known as the Kelvin cycle, according to the name of the scientist who discovered it. Okay, so this dark reaction is also known as the carbon fixing reaction. Why carbon fixing? Because we have already seen that the three main things are needed in the light reaction, that is the sunlight, chlorophyll molecule which is trapping the sunlight, and the water molecule which is splitting up, right? So these are the three raw materials which were already used up or used once in the light reaction. What is needed, what is left, that is the carbon dioxide. Now the role of carbon dioxide is very much important in case of this dark reaction. Okay, and that is why it is known as the carbon fixing reaction. So this carbon dioxide will now go through a lot of different steps, adding up with the it will react with the NADPH and form NADP, and also in presence of this ATP it will form the ADP plus Pi, and finally it will help to form the glucose molecule, that is the main product of the photosynthesis. Okay, so the sugar molecule or the glucose molecule will be formed over here in the dark phase. So this dark phase will take place within the stroma of the chloroplast. Can you see over here in this picture? This is the picture of the chloroplast. So the light phase will take place within the grana of this chloroplast, and the dark phase is taking place within the stroma, that is the just the matrix of the chloroplast. Clear up to this much? Yes, got an idea about what are the differences between dark phase and the light phase of photosynthesis? Yes. Okay, chalo. Now let us move on to the different adaptations which are taken by the plant parts for the process of photosynthesis. Any idea in your mind, like what can be the different adaptations which can be taken place within the plant, or what are the different external and internal factors which will help in the process of photosynthesis? Yes, anybody in the chat box, let me see who can give me the correct answer. Whatever idea you have, and definitely don't forget to subscribe our channel and like, comment, and share. Right? I hope you have already subscribed it. Whoever is going, whoever are there with me throughout the session. Yes. Okay. Chalo. So the very first adaptation is the large surface area. So leaves जितना large surfaces होगा, leaf का surface जितना ज़्यादा होगा, तो उतना light absorption हो सकता है. Right? So उतना जल्दी photosynthesis हो सकता है. So this large surface area is very important for the process of photosynthesis. Coming to the second one, the arrangement of the leaves. If the leaves are drooping down or they are straight, so they will not be exposed to the sunlight, right? So what should be the angle of the leaf? It always should be the in the right angle. मान लो कि ये stem है, always the leaves should be in this right angle so that they can take more amount of sunlight, so the sunlight will fall on them and they are mostly exposed to the sunlight. Clear hai? So jitna sunlight ye mein ye exposed hoga, to definitely they will be able to perform more and more photosynthesis. Okay, and the process very rapidly. Now coming to the third one, that is the transportation. It depends upon the extensive network of the veins. जितना extensive network होगा veins का, जितना branches होगा leaves में veins का, the veins and venues जितना complicated होगा, उतना ज़्यादा water and minerals will move on to all the different cells of the plant body, and finally this will help in the process of photosynthesis. Clear hand up to this much? Yes. Okay. Now let us move on to the fourth thing, that is the number of stomata. So what do you think? Where is the stomata number present more? Mostly in the lower surface of the dicotyledonous leaf, right? Yes. So stomata is more in amount. तो जहां जहां ज्यादा stomata होगा, definitely वहां gaseous exchange उतना effectively हो पाएगा, right? So whenever the stomata will be more in number, more absorption of carbon dioxide takes place, and definitely it will result in more rapid photosynthesis. Now let's move on to the fifth thing, that is the fifth point is the thinness of the leaf. जितना पतली होगा, जितना पतला या फिर thin होगा leaves, definitely the distance between the different cells will be less, and this will help to transport the different like water and minerals very rapidly, and जितना rapidly वो transfer होगा उतना जल्दी जल्दी photosynthesis होगा. क्लियर है ना? चलो, let's move on to the sixth point, that is the presence of chloroplast. कहाँ रहता है? Chloroplast mainly are present in the palisade parenchyma cells mostly, and they are present at the upper portion of the leaves. So these are green in color, that is why bright green in color they are. And जितना ज्यादा क्लोरोप्लास्ट होगा उतना ट्रैपिंग ऑफ द लाइट एनर्जी होगा, जितना ट्रैपिंग ऑफ द लाइट एनर्जी होगा उतना conversion to the chemical energy hoga. That means the photosynthesis will be performed very much efficiently. Clear hai up to this much? Yes. Now, let's now move on to the external factors which affect the process of photosynthesis. There are also the different external factors. The internal factors we have already discussed. First one is the light intensity. Jitna light intensity hoga, to a certain limit, definitely they will be absorbed by the chlorophyll molecules and photosynthesis will take place. During the night time, when there is no light intensity, photosynthesis will not take place that much. नेक्स्ट इज द कंसेंट्रेशन ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. जितना ज्यादा कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का कंसेंट्रेशन होगा इन द एटमॉस्फेयर, फोटोसिंथेसिस उतना ज्यादा जल्दी होगा. व्हाई? बिकॉज दे विल बी एबल टू absorb more and more carbon dioxide to perform the photosynthesis. Thirdly, the temperature. The optimum temperature which is needed for the process of photosynthesis is like 20 to 35 degrees centigrade, where the photosynthesis rate बहुत ज्यादा होता है. Below 20 degree and above 35 to 40 degree, definitely the rate of the photosynthesis will be lowered. Next is the absorption of the water. So water will be absorbed more by the roots, it will be sent more to the leaves, and definitely due to the presence of water, photosynthesis will be more, and due to absence of water, no photosynthesis will take place. And lastly, the pollution, very important. Jitna zyada pollution hoga, the surface of the leaves will be blocked with the dust particles, and photosynthesis will not take place at that situation. So this is also very much important external factor which will perform in the process, which will effect in the process of photosynthesis. Now let us see what are the different factors with the help of a video.
Photosynthesis, one of the chemical reactions that is fundamental to your life. You should already know all about the process, but if you are unsure, watch our video on photosynthesis first. In this video, we are going to have a look at the factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. There are three main factors: light intensity, carbon dioxide concentration, and also temperature. These factors are called limiting factors. Light is essential for photosynthesis, as it provides the energy to split the water and therefore enable carbon dioxide and water to react. No light, no photosynthesis. Increasing the light intensity increases the rate of photosynthesis, until a point when the rate is at its maximum. In fact, plants spread out their leaves to maximize the amount of light falling on them and to ensure that lower leaves are not shaded by the ones above. Some woodland plants are known as shade plants because they can photosynthesize more efficiently in dim light than other species. If there is insufficient carbon dioxide in the air, then photosynthesis cannot occur at the maximum rate. However, just like us, plants are sensitive to temperature too. Too hot and they cannot photosynthesize. Too cold and their productivity slows down to zero. This is because there are enzymes involved in photosynthesis, and so above 40 degrees Celsius the enzymes start to denature, and so the rate of photosynthesis slows down. And then, as it gets cooler, the enzymes move around more slowly, and hence the rate of reaction drops. Different types of plants have different optimum temperatures for photosynthesis. Plants that live in colder climates have an optimum rate at a lower temperature. These are the three main limiting factors. However, there are some others such as chlorophyll concentration, water, and pollution. Farmers and horticulturists can use the knowledge of these limiting factors to increase crop growth in greenhouses. They can use artificial lights to extend the daylight hours or increase the light intensity. They can increase the concentration of carbon dioxide by burning paraffin lamps, and they can control the temperatures inside the greenhouse. Unsurprisingly, many crops such as tomatoes and lettuce give much higher yields when grown in greenhouses. Another fantastic bonus of photosynthesis is that because it needs carbon dioxide, we can pump waste carbon dioxide from our factories straight into greenhouses. One man's waste is another man's, well, plant's treasure. So from this video, you should know that carbon dioxide concentration, light intensity, and temperature are the main limiting factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. But remember, there is a maximum rate that can be achieved.
Yes, so we have already studied about the different factors which are performing the process of photosynthesis, right? Yes, so now we will study about the internal factors. So internal factors में क्या आता है? First is the chlorophyll. So if the plant is having any sort of nutritional deficiency, like मान लीजिए कि iron is not properly present in the soil, or like magnesium or nitrogen is not present, then these are the different minerals which will help to perform the process of like which will help to form the cell wall or the chlorophyll molecules. Definitely they will not be able to form them, and the process of photosynthesis will not take place that much, right? So the all the different nutrients should be there properly in the soil so that it can be absorbed by the root and they can be transferred to the leaves so that the process of photosynthesis will take place properly. Secondly, the dehydration, like which takes place in the protoplasm, that is the liquid within the cell. We already know that the dehydration will reduce the rate of the photosynthesis. How? Because if there is loss of water, no water at all, the leaves will droop down and finally the photosynthesis will not take place, right? So this is the second thing. Third is the structure of the leaf, the thickness of the cuticle, the distribution of the different stomata within the leaves, and the size of the leaves. All these influence the amount of light and the amount of carbon dioxide which are entering the leaf. So these are the main basic internal factors which are performing, which are affecting the process of photosynthesis. Now let us move on to the different experiments which will show you that photosynthesis will take place within the leaves only, and what are the different factors which must be present within the leaves or within the nature, without which photosynthesis will not take place. Okay, so first of all, let us do one experiment. You can do all these experiment at home also, definitely, if you have the iodine solution and all the different test tube beakers and all. But if you don't have, you can perform this experiment at school also, okay, with the help of your teacher. So firstly we will take some of the leaves, few leaves, and we have to discharge it. मतलब उसके अंदर already जो starch है, after the photosynthesis we have to remove all this. How? We can keep it in the dark room for 1 or 2 days and we will be able to see that all the starch will be removed. Now take those leaves and keep it in the boiling water so that all the germs, if there is any germs, it will be removed. Okay, then keep it inside the water bath, and within the test tube you can see over here the methylated spirit, or we can say the ethanol, is taken. So within the ethanol you have to keep the leaf, 1 or 2 leaves, for some time. Now what will you observe? What will be the color of the leaf? Yes, you can see over here, and again you can also keep it within the hot water so that it will become softer. Okay, so for making it soften, you can keep it inside the hot water again and put some amount of iodine solution. What will you see? Yes. So in the leaf where there is no starch, you will see that there is no coloration of the leaves, no change in coloration, or we can see that it is brownish in color. But in case of the starch, where the leaves are already having the starch, you will be able to see that it is taking a bluish black color in presence of the iodine solution. That means the leaves which are present in the under the sunlight, they are making the food, that is the starch. Clear hai? Up to this much. So this proves that the photosynthesis takes place within the leaves. Now let us move on to the next experiment. So it is given in the book that the photosynthesis occur in presence of the sunlight. How will you prove that? Yes. So you have to take a plant with a discharge leaf. Discharge, again, you have to keep it for 1 or 2 days in the dark room and all the starch will be removed, right? After removing the starch, you can cover one of the leaf with a black paper and the other leaves will be same, like without black paper. It will be totally free of the black paper. Now keep it under the sunlight for 2 or 3 hours and do the same experiment by uh, just boiling it under the water bath of the methylated spirit and put some of the iodine solution. What will you see? You will see that the leaves which do not have the starch will have a different color, that is the brown color, and the leaves which are exposed to the sunlight, there you can see the bluish black color where the starch is formed. So this is the proof that the sunlight is very much important for the process of photosynthesis. The plant part or the leaves which are covered with the black paper, there is no formation of the starch, but the leaves which are not covered by the black paper, there is the formation of the starch, and that is why they are giving you a bluish black coloration. Clear hai? Now let us move on to the third experiment. It is very easy. See, you can take a hydrilla plant. It is an aquatic plant. You can take it within a beaker and cover it with the funnel. Okay. Now this is the stem of the funnel. So on the stem of the funnel, you have to take a like test tube which is full of water and just invert it and cover it at the end of the stem of the funnel. What will you see? Keep it for some times and after some times you will see that there are the bubbles which are coming out. Okay, so keep it in the sunlight, definitely you will be able to see that the bubbles are coming out. Okay, so what are these bubbles? How will you see that? If you take a glowing splinter in front of this will help in the burning of the fire, and that is how you will be able to understand that this splinter will explode because of the presence of oxygen gas. So this is the proof that during the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is uh, liberating out. Okay, so these are the different experiments which are very much important for your examination. So go through this very carefully, and as you already know that how to write the experiments, I have already mentioned that aim of the experiment, procedure, observation, inference, these are the points which should be there, and the raw materials in between. Okay, so this is the proof of the photosynthesis performed in the green leaves due to the presence of all these raw materials. Now it has been also explained that carbon dioxide is also necessary for the process of photosynthesis. Now, how is the carbon dioxide gained by the plant, and again when the plant is basically using it, how it is again going to the atmosphere? So definitely there should be a biogeochemical cycle continuously which should be going on within the atmosphere, right? So, with the help of this video, we will study about the carbon cycle, how the carbon cycle is performed within our environment.
The carbon cycle. All elements and some compounds have their natural cycle in nature. for example, the water cycle. Matter is cycled using energy, usually from the sun. And in this video, we'll be considering the carbon cycle. We will see how photosynthesis and respiration, see the linked video, help carbon to be cycled in nature, again using energy from the sun. And we will also see the part played by mankind when we use fossil fuels. First of all, the natural carbon cycle. Can you remember what the process is called where plants capture carbon and give off oxygen? Pause the video whilst you think. Did you remember that this process is called photosynthesis? The carbon is used to build up new plant material. Animals eat the plants or other animals to build up their bodies. To obtain energy for all these living processes, plants and animals take in oxygen and rejoin it with the carbohydrates, so returning the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Do you remember what this process is called? Pause the video. This process is called respiration. Now, let's put some details into this. As they grow, all living things have to build up large polymer molecules from small molecules. Protein, for example, to make your skin and muscles and other organs, comes from joining amino acids together. Cellulose and starch to make the leaves, flowers, trunks, roots, and all parts of plants from joining sugars, and DNA to make the genes which control living things from the bases and the sugar and phosphate. Plants can make these simple molecules from the carbon they capture from photosynthesis, with added elements from the minerals they get from the soil. Animals, on the other hand, get their molecules ready-made when they eat plants or other animals, but first they have to break the food polymers back into the small molecules. Do you know what this process is called? Pause whilst you think of an answer. This is called digestion, breaking the food into little bits so it can get into our blood. All of this, of course, needs lots of energy. And living things get their energy from respiration. Some of the monomers, things like sugar, have to be rejoined with oxygen, and for us, that is the principal use of the carbohydrates in our diet. The carbon dioxide gets back into the food web through photosynthesis.
So this is about the carbon cycle together, that is performed due to the presence of the different types of physiological processes within the living organisms, right? Got it? Okay. Now let us discuss one fun fact about this process of photosynthesis. We all know that the single cell organelles and mainly the green plants are the photosynthetic organisms, right? Now, do you know some of the multicellular organisms are also there which can perform the photosynthesis, like the multicellular animal? This is nothing but a sea slug, which is whose scientific name is Elysia chlorotica. They steal the photosynthetic pigment from the algae and place them within their cells so that they can perform the process of photosynthesis. Isn't it amazing, right? Okay. Now let us discuss some of the question answers. This type of question answers you will get in the board exam also, as well as the school exam. So these are, please note down the questions and also practice this answers. So let us discuss some of the question answer. First of all, what are the different factors which influence the process of photosynthesis? It's very important question. You can get it as a 3-mark answer, and with the 3-mark answer, along with the point, you have to mention 1 or 2 sentences for each of the point. Okay. So I'm just telling you about the points like the light intensity, the change in the water content, the soil pH, carbon dioxide concentration, climatic condition, temperature. All are the different factors which affect the rate of photosynthesis. So when it will come for 3 marks or 5 marks, mainly if it comes for 5 marks, at least try to write 5 points along with 1 or 2 sentences for each. And if it is coming for 3 marks, write at least 3 points and write 1 or 2 sentences for each. Okay, coming to the second question, why green leaves are thin and broad? Why do you think it is thin and broad? So broad leaves definitely will increase the surface area, and the surface area, when it is more, it will absorb more and more sunlight, and it will be able to perform the photosynthesis more efficiently. Got it? Now coming to the third question, oxygen is a waste material of photosynthesis. You have to comment on this. Definitely it is the waste material which is liberated during the process of photosynthesis, but with that also you have to say that it is not a waste material in the environment, because this is a very important gas which we mainly breathe in for the performance of respiration process within our body, right? As well as the plant body also, the respiration takes place. So oxygen is liberated during the photosynthesis. That is why it is called the waste product. But it is not the waste product, because we all need oxygen due to the process of respiration. Clear hai? Now let me ask you some of the question quickly. Write the answer, the MCQs in your chat box. So the first question is, the chlorophyll is for in photosynthesis is used for what? Which one of the option uh, will be played by the chlorophyll for in the process of photosynthesis? Do the chlorophyll absorb the sunlight, or it helps in breaking down the water molecule, or do you think it has no function at all, or you think that it helps in the reduction of the carbon dioxide? Which answer is correct? Let me see who can give me the answer in the chat box quickly. Yes, Shubham, Seth, Deepika, sorry, Drishti, are you there? I guess you all are there. So quickly write me the answer. Okay, in the meantime, let me also repeat the second question, that is the main site of the photosynthesis. You already know where the photosynthesis takes place, whether it is taking place in the leaves or stem or chloroplast or the guard cells. Where does it take place? Yes. Quickly give me the answer. The first answer will be yes, it is the absorption of the light takes place by the chlorophyll molecules, which is the first step of the photosynthesis, the first step of the light reaction, right? And what will be the second answer? The main site for photosynthesis is chloroplast, right? These are the green colored plastids where chlorophyll is present and thus helps in the process of photosynthesis. Now let's move on to the third question. The small pores which are present on the surface of the leaves, what are they called? Yes, they helps in the gaseous exchange. Just think and tell me whether they are known as the stomata or the chlorophyll or the guard cell or none of the above. Yes, the small pores which are present on the leaves, they are known as the stomata, right? Okay, now let's move on to the fourth question. Photosynthesis is a what type of process? Is it a catabolic or a parabolic or an amphibolic or photochemical process? It's given in the word only. Okay, photosynthesis is the which type of process is, we already know that it is the anabolic process, but anabolic is not given in this list in this option, so it will be the photochemical process. Clear hai? Yes. So this type of question may come in your board exam as well as the school exam. So I hope that you have already understood whatever we have discussed today. We have discussed about the process of photosynthesis, which include the light reaction and the dark reaction. The light reaction takes place in the thylakoid and the dark reaction takes place in the stroma, and they are happening. Both the phases are happening due to the presence of NADP. Now, the light dependent reaction needs the water and the energy of the sunlight, which helps to produce the ATP, NADPH, and carbon dioxide. Now, this Kelvin cycle, that is the dark reaction, needs the ATP, which is already formed in the light reaction, and NADPH, that is also formed in the light reaction, and the carbon dioxide, which are absorbed by the plant parts from the atmosphere to produce the main two things things, that is the oxygen and the sugar. So sugar is the main product and the byproduct will be oxygen, NADP and ADP. Fine. So these are the different things which we have already studied. So these two are your question for, these are the extra time question for your homework. You have to write down this answer. We will again discuss this answer in the next session. Okay, so you have to explain the internal and external factor affecting the photosynthesis, and second question is all the adaptations which are done by the leaves to perform the process of photosynthesis. Okay, both of them are 5-mark question. Please write it down in your copy and we will definitely discuss in the next session. So thank you very much for staying with me throughout the session, and we will again meet in the next session. Let me remind you to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so that you will never miss any of the update of the upcoming sessions. Okay, so stay with us and learn with us, and don't forget to like, comment and share. We will again meet in the next session. So